We've been talking a lot about our favorite titles from the first half of 2026 with respect to a variety of factors, but that doesn't mean we're not aware that the rest of the year is bringing some serious firepower to the gaming scene, with games that have been a long time coming and made the hype around them grow with every passing day. From beloved franchises and characters taking to the stage to ambitious new concepts and studios looking to make a mark for themselves, there's a lot to look forward to on the horizon if gaming is your jam. Here are a few titles that we can think of with a lot of expectations, but are more than capable of delivering on what they promise. The list starts with number 1, Grand Theft Auto 6. We thought it best to give this one its due right up top since it carries the biggest weight of expectations that other games in the current console generation just simply can't match up to. Rockstar is going to have to prove it still has what it takes to deliver generational leaps between its titles beyond just nailing a title whose franchise formula is enough to make it a hit without even trying. It's going to have to justify a decade of waiting, most of it quite agonizing, a much discussed delay very close to its 2025 release, and earn the aura of being the biggest game ever. It's one of the potential benchmarks against which all open worlds that follow it will be measured, if its predecessors are any indication, and are going to be talked about well beyond its November 19, 2026 release on the PS5 and Xbox Series X and S. How much of that conversation is good remains to be seen, but we're quite optimistic about this one's chances. Number 2, Marvel's Wolverine. Insomniac's done pretty well with Spider-Man, capturing the tone and vibe of the comics and films while building a narrative around Peter Parker, Miles Morales, and the rest of the franchise's popular cast in ways that stay true to its narrative roots. But can it repeat the same with a character like Wolverine, who brings a literal polar opposite to all things that made its last superhero effort a hit? Logan fights differently, feels different, and is different to Peter in so many ways. It's going to be an uphill task to avoid making him feel like Spidey with claws. But the limited glimpses we've been given of what's on offer in this one shows a perfect balance of the character's near immortality and a combat system that works well against enemies who are designed to take a beating from him. The little bit of story that we do know is similarly well executed, making us believe that the studio has another PS5 exclusive hit on its hands when this one hits the shelves on September 15, 2026. 3. Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced. Black Flag is Assassin's Creed at its finest, no doubt about it. Edward Kenway was the perfect vehicle for bold changes to the gameplay loop, with a pirate-themed formula that worked very well to present his character arc. There's a reason it's among the most beloved titles in the franchise, and was a logical choice for a pretty ambitious effort at modernizing it from the developer. But a new combat system, rebuilt visuals, and quality-of-life touches run the risk of sanding away at the very soul of an experience that could make it feel out of place. We're quite positive about it being the same freewheeling pirate adventure that we know and love. But is it going to be too different by being less messy than what we're used to? Well, we don't have to wait long to find out, as this one's out on July 9th, 2026 for the PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X and S. Number 4, Halo Campaign Evolved. Although everything we've seen of this one has been impressive, there's still the nagging suspicion that it might not be enough to alleviate thoughts that the Halo franchise is relying on its past success when it finds itself at a creative slump. Like you, we're hoping that this isn't the case, and that this one used Master Chief and Combat Evolved's legacy well enough to ensure that the franchise has a future beyond the glory days of its Bungie era. It's a road that's as risky as it is safe for the Halo brand, but we're sure that this one's a solid effort from Halo Studios. It drops on July 28, 2026 as listed by Xbox and is included with Game Pass. 5. Beast of Reincarnation. A single-player Sekiro-like game with a very unique premise and a combat system that's looking more sublime with every showcase it gets are obvious reasons to think that Game Freak might be flying too close to the sun with this one. Can a studio that's used to making great Pokemon games suddenly take on a challenge like this one? Turns out that this one might have just everything it needs to prove anyone who doubts it wrong, and do it with style in the process. That goes beyond the scope to specific aspects like the tech, visuals, action design, and the evident high performance requirements it's going to bring to current gen hardware given how its experience is set up. The swordsman/dog-dependent combat system is going to have to be more than just a gimmick when this one gets out on August 4th, 2026 on PS5. Number 6. Fable. This is a franchise that Xbox should have returned to a long time ago, in our opinion. But it's better late than never, right? Well, not quite. It's still a risky venture, considering that this modern reboot of a beloved IP has to prove that the franchise's signature humor is still capable of drawing laughs, and that Albion feels alive enough to make the player feel like they're indeed at the center of a much grander adventure. Playground needs to nail down a shift from its Forza-focused approach to a full-blown RPG that's going to live or die based on how layered it is, and how those layers balance each other out. Xbox is going to be hoping its 1,000 plus NPCs can make you keep coming back for more when this one drops on February 23rd, 2027, with Game Pass on day one. Number 7. The Blood of Dawnwalker. Rebel Wolves might have some really seasoned hands amongst its ranks, but it still needs to prove itself as a new studio. Weigh those expectations against what the Blood of Dawnwalker has to offer, and you've got a title that screams of ambition and innovation in a post-Claire obscure world. That's an uphill climb even for the rarest of talent, but Cohen looks like he's the perfect vampire-human hybrid to give this one some forward momentum. The time as a currency mechanic looks like it's going to test his unique abilities quite well, just as well as it supports the story choice-based direction, the combat, and the emotional payoff of the consequences to all the choices you made, which are touted to extend beyond this one in a line of planned sequels to it. That's a lot of pressure for the potential start of a brand new saga that begins on September 3rd, 2026, being playable on the PC via Steam, PS5, and Xbox Series X and S. Number 8. Phantom Blade Zero. We weren't afraid to get big on this one as early as last year, and what we've seen of it so far hasn't changed that opinion in the slightest. But that doesn't change the fact that those very expectations might be the biggest challenge for its versatile protagonist to beat. Can all the style, obvious substance, and slick combat and traversal mechanics manage to impress us all beyond the first few hours? If there was ever a game that seemed too good to be true, this one's it. But we're quite positive that it's got enough depth and challenge that will work well with great level and enemy designs, and a combat rhythm that's quite impressive when it drops on October 29, 2026, bringing its wuxia-inspired experience to the PS5. Number 9. Silent Hill Townfall. Following up a very impressive last outing with Silent Hill F, Townfall has two big shoes to fill. It needs to match or exceed the quality of its predecessor and manage to be an excellent Silent Hill game in the process. More than that, it needs to show us that the franchise has enough meat on its bones to have a future beyond remakes and banking on the nostalgia it brings to those of us lucky enough to witness its rise to fame and prominence. It needs to show us new horror instead of repackaged trauma, which is saying something considering all the places this franchise has taken us to. But with a full-length, self-contained experience based in Scotland and a healthy balance between its exploration, new mechanics, and puzzles, we don't see why this one can't succeed when it drops on September 24th, 2026. Number 10. Onimusha: The Way of the Sword. The team behind Resident Evil has had quite a good year, but it still needs to prove that it's managed to make this one a modern action franchise that weaves in Souls-like elements while retaining what made it special over the years. It needs to show us how the classic Onimusha franchise formula can still manage to capture an audience in 2026, with measured swordplay, counterattacks, soul absorption, and everything else that puts it on the map, which shines through well enough to make it stand out. It's releasing right beside the Blood of Dawnwalker, which means it could face some stiff competition from a rival it never saw coming. But we think it's sure to find its takers, and anyone choosing the other title is bound to visit this one at a later time. Alright folks, that's it for this one. We can't wait to see if each of the games we've talked about here manage to achieve the lofty goals that it's tackling. But with all the talent that's backing up the experience they offer, we're certain that they're going to be very enjoyable anyway. And that's good news for a lot of us, as we're going to be pretty spoiled for choice in the next coming few months. Hey, did you know that we at GamingBolt upload new videos every day? Stick around, drop a like, subscribe, and hit that bell. And let us know what kind of content you'd like to see in the future with a comment below.